on a 5 to 7 minute speech, icebreaker, which is just a little bit about me. Okay? All right, thank you very much. Hi, my name is Lawrence. I'm a Toastmaster. I've been a Toastmaster all my life. I believe when I was first born that the noise I made was heard halfway around the block. My mom said she could never get me to shut up. I guess that as a Toastmaster, I just always wanted to speak. Toastmasters are interesting people. When I was in kindergarten, everybody else would be sleeping, taking their nap in the afternoon, and I would be talking. And the teacher wouldn't want me to talk. She wanted me to sleep. But I'm a Toastmaster, and Toastmasters like to talk. I remember when I was in 2nd grade, I was asked by my teacher to give a short speech. Everybody in the class, they had to give a short speech. And I did a speech that was about the Pan and the different woodland creatures from mythology. And I was so excited about this speech, and I gave this speech, and everyone was interested, but I didn't get a very good mark. My teacher said that I was only supposed to speak for just a short time, but I spoke for a long, long time. And so she gave me a bad mark. But that's what Toastmasters do. They don't pay attention to time. They don't pay attention to what other people, other than how to get people inspired by what they're saying. And then they can just speak and speak and speak. I'm a Toastmaster. When I was in 6th grade, I had, again, many difficulties in my school, but one of them was not my ability to speak and keep things going, but it was an inability to stop speaking. And again, this was a problem in my school. I couldn't focus on my learning as much because I was speaking. But I did finally, after 2 years, get through my 6th grade and into junior high school, where speaking was also a problem. But I was able to get in the choir, and singing was like speaking with a melody. And that's what Toastmasters do. They speak. And I had the opportunity to do some solos and do some various other things that were quite interesting to me and kind of helped me to develop the self-esteem and the ability to be in front of large crowds and still speak without too much trouble. And the only problem was I never did learn how to read music. But I could speak because I'm a Toastmaster. I remember also when I was in my 20s, or actually more likely in my 30s, when the wall came down between Russia and the Eastern Bloc, I had the opportunity to go to the Ukraine and help to speak to people from Moscow who were wanting to learn about morality in the more Western methods of morality that they were no longer being taught in the Soviet Union. We were going to show a movie one evening, and the movie did not come up on the screen. There was problems with the projector. So I realized I'm a Toastmaster. I can speak. So I got up and in front of this crowd from Moscow, and I said, "Let me tell you a story about Goldilocks and the Three Bears." And they said, "No, no, no. It's not Goldilocks. It's Sasha and her Kasha." But anyways, I spoke, and they listened, and they were excited, and we never did get the movie. But it was a very exciting experience. When I came back from there, I found out there was a group where I could deal with my addiction, and I could become better at becoming a Toastmaster. So I joined Toastmasters International, and now not only am I a Toastmaster, but lady and gentlemen, I am an accomplished Toastmaster. Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you very much. Okay, interesting. All right, so that was the first speaker. I'd like to also introduce our second speaker, JR. JR is going to give us a speech. What was the name of your speech? An unnamed speech.
My future thesis. My future thesis.
Your future thesis.
Yeah.
Okay, his future thesis, which is going to be a speech that he's giving in one of his classes in the near future, and he'd like to run it by us. Again, each one of us can act as an evaluator for this particular program and see if we can help him to get a much higher mark on his class than he would have ever expected. So, JR.
This is a 2 to 3 minute speech.
Yes, sir. First off, I just want to thank you all for being my guinea pigs. Let me practice this on you all for tomorrow. What is the smallest distance we ever tried to measure? Unless you're involved in microscopy, it's probably something like a few millimeters or centimeters. But what if you're going to measure distances that are on the nanometer scale? And what if it's something that is inside of a living cell that's moving around constantly? How do you do that? As it turns out, biologists have a tool they call FRET that achieves this. It relies on a certain principle of fluorescence. Now, as you all recall, fluorescence is a phenomenon where you shine light at an electron, the electron is excited, and when it comes back down, it shines light back at you. Now, it turns out that depending on what protein the electron is found on, it will only be excited by certain frequencies or colors of light, and it will only emit certain frequencies or colors of light. Usually, these properties are expressed with a diagram like the one below. The blue line is the excitation spectrum, and the red line is the emission spectrum. And this tells you what kind of light a protein can accept and what kind of light it'll shine back with emission. Now, FRET relies on two proteins that have an overlap between their emission and excitation spectra. What this leads to is a certain type of energy coupling, where energy is transferred from one protein to the other one. And here's how we can use this. by shining a light on the blue protein, energy can be transferred from the blue protein to the yellow protein.
That's correct. Good.
Okay. Then the yellow protein will respond by emitting light with its own fluorescence. As it turns out, this type of energy transfer is highly dependent on distance. So by observing the amount of yellow light that's emitted, we can determine how much energy is transferred. And by determining how much energy is transferred, we can figure out how far apart these two proteins are. This is the conventional way to carry out FRET. But as it turns out, there are certain perks to reversing this process. And here's what it would look like. Instead of exciting the blue protein, you excite the yellow protein. Now remember, these proteins are still coupled, which means energy will be transferred between them. But the problem is, due to a principle in fluorescence called the Stokes shift, you're not going to see any light coming from the blue protein. However, my advisor believes there's a way around this, that we can still utilize this process. It involves measuring the amount of light coming out of the yellow protein. Now, by tracing back how much light from the yellow protein was lost through energy transfer, you can figure out how close these two proteins are. My job in my thesis will be to investigate how this energy transfer works and find a way to utilize it in useful applications. Thank you.
Very interesting. Yes, you gave a speech about that not too long ago also.
Yeah.
And quite interesting. Quite interesting. I never would have realized that that was a way of measuring mass. So kind of exciting in a way. For the next part of our meeting, I would like to invite Tammy to give us our table topics. And yeah, so we're going to ask Tammy to come up and give table topics. Thank you.
I'm assuming everyone wants to do it.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, we got time.
Okay, I have 10, so we could all do 2.
No, we could do one each.
Right.
What, two apiece?
Right. Make use of the time. Okay, Mr. Woody,
Right.
if you had 1 minute to talk to President Obama, what topics would you discuss?
Okay. 1 minute to talk to President
Oh my
Obama.
goodness.
Okay. Thank you very much. What were we talking about? Well, I think what I would try to talk to President Obama about would be the fact that we've got Democrats over here and we've got Republicans over here, and there's this huge gap between them, and nothing ever happens anymore. You know, the Republicans have this conservative point of view, the Democrats have this liberal point of view, and they can seem to agree on anything, so Congress is basically at a standstill most of the time. Now, this is not necessarily his fault, not necessarily the Republicans' fault, but I just wish there was a way that these two groups could come together and do what's best for the American people. I saw a report last night on 60 Minutes where they were talking about raising money to become elected as a senator or elected official. And these guys spend as much as 40 hours a week, senators, for example, raising money. And that's all they do. And I think really our political process has become, I think it's totally out of whack. I don't think it's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, or Congress is supposed to be doing what's good for the American people in general. And I think it's become just a big money-making scam. And there's no real accountability because senators seem to get elected over and over and over. Same thing with representatives. But they never solve the problems of this country, and certainly I can't think of a single problem that has been solved in the last 10, 15 years. And I think we're going in the wrong direction. I think we need to get together somehow and do what's best for everyone. And all this money with these PACs, they have a deal now where a group can raise unlimited funds for a candidate, and then they call themselves Center for whatever, or People for a Better Government, or whatever. They can raise tens and hundreds of millions of dollars for a candidate, and the average person has no say-so at all. And I think it's really thwarted the democratic process I'd really like to see a change. Anyway.
Maurice,
Yes.
you are applying for your dream job that you've always wanted, and we are the board of directors, and it's coming down to you and one other person. Tell us why we should choose you.
Fellow Toastmasters, I have applied for my dream job, and I am interviewing in front of the board of directors. And the first reason why they should pick me over the other candidate is because it's my dream job and not the other candidate's dream job. That's the first reason. The second reason is that I would have a high passion for that dream job. Not just show up for work to get a paycheck, but to be actually interested in the business while working the dream job, because it would be a passion for me, not just a job, not just a 9 to 5 or whatever hours it would take per day to work that job. So, since it would be my dream job, I wouldn't think I would make an egregious mistake of not performing that dream job. Topics master.
You're hired.
Yeah, you get the job.
Okay, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
What is the best speech you have ever heard and why?
No, I don't have.
I think the best speech that I've ever heard is the one that General Patton gave before D-Day. That's the opening scene of the movie Patton. Some very memorable lines in that movie. And I think one of my favorite lines is where he's telling the guys that are getting ready to go into battle that he doesn't want them to give their life for their country. He wants them to make the other bastards give their lives for their country. So that speech, I'm assuming, impact them projected. And I don't know if it was like that in real life, but from the movie, that's my favorite speech. Thank you.
Okay, JR. It is your
Minute
first.
and 9 seconds.
It's your first day on your new job, and we're just the coworkers in the break room, and someone's like, "Hey, JR, tell us about yourself. Who are you?"
Thanks, Danny. First of all, I'd like to think that I wouldn't talk for 2 minutes to friends. I'd probably ask some questions and answer the questions. But if we were just going to give you a monologue, I would probably try to convey that I have a lot of different interests that don't necessarily make sense to most people. So I've always been a very serious student. I love studying math and science, and I'm going to grad school to be an engineer. But I also really enjoy pushing myself physically. I love doing triathlons. I love learning jiu-jitsu and grappling. And I have a number of other interests that don't really match up. People are always surprised that I really enjoy rap music, and I've been going through vintage Biggie Smalls and Wu-Tang Clan albums and finding stuff that I like. And people are also always surprised to learn that I'm trying to learn the banjo. That's something that is kind of on hold right now. It's what I always cut first when I get too busy. So I need to work on making more time for it and actually devoting myself to it and improving my skills. But sometime down the road, I can eventually become a skilled picker. I think there's a lot more I could talk about, but as I said, I don't like to drone on, so I'd probably ask my coworkers more about themselves first. Thank you.
Lawrence, you are selling your car. What would you say to an interested buyer to try to persuade them to buy it?
My friend, listen, you're buying the best car that was ever made. This car that you're looking at is one of millions of cars that were made of this model. But this is the only car in existence that has been on an assembly line for more than 80 years. Almost virtually unchanged from the original car created and developed in the mind of Ferdinand Porsche before the Second World War. So this car is a fabulous car. It's a beautiful car. This car has been in my possession for more than 20 years. I've just had the engine rebuilt, so you probably got another 250,000 miles on the engine before you're going to have to rebuild it again, as long as you keep oil in it. So I want you to just sit in the car. I want you to just feel the energy that comes out of this car and the real joy. And just think, this car may have been used by some hippies back in the 70s. This car, who knows what could have happened in this car? So this car, not only are you buying a fabulous car, you're buying a piece of history. So please, buy my 70s model Volkswagen Beetle. Mrs. Toastmaster.
Mr. Toastmaster, is that all we have time for?
No, I think we have time for more. More, there's more at the door, there's more. Because we only have one well, we do have 2 evaluations, but I think we can do that.
Okay. Mr. Woody, if you could talk to your 12-year-old self, what would you say?
Talk to my 12-year-old self, okay?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Or do it.
Okay, 12-year-old Woody, let me tell you, what advice would I give you? I would say, do the best you can in high school. Make as many friends as you can. When you get out of high school, maybe you want to do a little time in the service, see the world a little bit, get your GI benefits, go to college and major in anything but computer science. No, I would say try to find yourself a major that interests you, that's enjoyable, and study hard, get yourself a good job, and remember the most important thing in life is not, is as you go through life, just enjoy yourself. Enjoy the things that come on a day-to-day basis. You know, don't always set goals and think, you know, happiness is not going to come when I receive this goal, but happiness is something that comes every day. So experience life and enjoy that, and that's what I would tell a 12-year-old Woody.
Mark, how did you first hear about Toastmasters and what made you join?
Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. The time period when I first heard of Toastmasters was actually when I was attending junior college in Mississippi. There was a group, there was a Toastmasters group that came in to do a speech. And I was a member of the fraternity Phi Theta Kappa, which was an academic honorary fraternity for 2-year colleges. And that's when I first heard of Toastmasters. I attempted to join Toastmasters over the years after I graduated from college, but never joined, including about 5 or 6 years ago, or 7 years ago. I did visit one of the other clubs, the Top Cats, I would say 09 or 2010, but it was 12 o'clock on Monday. So the way my work schedule was, I couldn't always break for lunch at 12, so that fell through. I did find this club in a short time period afterwards, but I essentially chickened out of coming until about 5 or 6 years later, which was 2015. So that's my journey between finding out about Toastmasters and actually joining Toastmasters.
Glad you came. Mark, assuming you're going to run for the mayor of Mobile, what would be the key points you would run on?
Can you ask the question again?
Assuming you wanted to run for the mayor of Mobile, what would be the key points that you would run on?
Well, I've actually thought about running for mayor. As I told you earlier, I'm thinking about running for senator. Well, I thought about running for mayor, especially a few years back when the city was having a lot of trouble. I think one of the things I could bring to any position like mayor of Mobile is the ability to manage the budget and then manage the execution of that budget. So you don't want to spend more than you're making, and you want to plan for what your income is, and you want to make sure that the city gets all of the necessary services. So we've got to make sure that the garbage gets picked up on time. We've got to make sure that we have enough policemen and crime isn't an issue. We have to hire enough firemen to keep the city safe. I have to make sure we have enough teachers so that our public schools are funded well enough that we can attract employers like us. If we can have a good infrastructure, the city can succeed beyond all of our dreams. So that's what I believe being the mayor is the ability to manage the budget, manage the expenses, and make sure that we have the infrastructure to succeed in the future. Thank you.
Keep on playing because we enjoy being a team. We enjoy playing the sport. And even if there isn't hope of victory, we'll still build our camaraderie and still improve our skills and hopefully improve our fitness if it's a more active sport. And it's still worth our time, it's still worth going for it. I've done a lot of stuff where I didn't have any hope of winning. I done triathlons for a while, and people with triathlons usually have $1,000, $2,000 bikes, and full body swimsuits, and they look like Holocaust survivors. They're very light and very fast. But I still did a lot of those, and I still had a great time. Like I said, because I enjoyed the process. I liked the energy of being in a race. I liked being around the people who were in the races, and I liked the fitness it gave me. So I think there are a lot of reasons beyond victory to compete in this sport. Thank you.
And that concludes table topics.
All right, the next section of our meeting is going to be our evaluation. This is a very important part of our meeting where each of us can learn from the good things and the mistakes that we have made. So I would like to invite JR, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Our first and only evaluator tonight will be Woody Harrison, and he's evaluating Lawrence's speech. So Woody, please come on up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Okay, Lawrence's speech is icebreaker, and I'm assuming, right or wrong, that you were being humorous. Okay. I'm pretty sure you were trying to be humorous, and you were trying to portray a character who was given an icebreaker, and they kept saying, insisting that you were a Toastmaster from the very beginning. So I'll kind of go at it from that point of view. It was actually kind of entertaining. But what strong points did the speaker already have? Well, clearly you have a good voice, good eye contact, all that. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? I think fairly well. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Certainly, you were speaking of yourself, so even though I think you were in character, I think you knew the character quite well, so. Okay, did the speaker talk clearly and audibly? Yes. Did the speech have a definite opening, body, and conclusion? I'm not sure about that. I guess it did, yes. Please comment on the speaker's use of notes. I didn't see you use notes. You may have had some notes, but I didn't notice any. What could the speaker have done differently that would have improved the speech? I really don't know. I think you were in character. You were in character, right? Doing that. What was the gist of the character? Just
Like a AA meeting.
an AA meeting kind of guy.
Right. You know, they get up, I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah. Well, I found that to be pretty entertaining.
Oh, I guess I flunked that one.
Well, it was entertaining. You were trying to be entertaining, right?
Yes.
In character. Okay, so you achieved your goal there.
Just
Because, I mean, that's not the way you normally, that's not how you speak at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, what did you like about the presentation? I thought it was kind of comical. I thought that your character you played was entertaining, and it was a little monotone at times, but it was still entertaining. I enjoyed your character. So, anyway, overall, entertaining speech, and I think it was enjoyable for us all. So, good job. General evaluator.
Thank you, Woody. Since we're evaluating students right now, I suppose I'll just invite y'all's comments on my presentation. So just raise your hand if you want to mention something. Yes.
Your slides and when you flipped them were like perfectly timed.
Oh,
I
thank you.
noticed that. I was like, especially the one with the little arrows on it. Someone like me who has no idea what you're talking about, the arrows coming up at the right time were great.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yes, I agree with that also, and I didn't know if you had another screen to, for
I
reference.
think it will tomorrow, so it'll be easier then actually.
So how big is your group tomorrow?
The group, it's a small seminar course for graduate students. So they are people in the sciences, but they're not in my field.
Okay.
So I'm trying to kind of hit a mid-range
Okay,
of experience here.
so your laptop will be plenty big enough for that.
All the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, you got a screen or something, you got?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Full PowerPoint classroom.
That'd be great, but I thought it was good.
Thank you. And thank you all again for listening to that. I know that it was unplanned, but I think it'll be very helpful tomorrow. Having
Yeah,
already gotten in front of the live audience.
I think you did a very good job. I think you were very clear in what you were doing. The only thing I noticed, and probably won't be a problem in the future when you're actually giving it, was the fact that you weren't sure whether you could see right after, as soon as you started clicking, you could see that you were thinking, well, is it really what's coming up? Is that really red or was it green? Which one was red, which one was green, which one was red, which was yellow, blue, yellow, whatever it was. So there was that little hesitation in there.
Definitely.
But that was the only thing that I noticed that could be improved, and I think that when you actually are giving it, you'll be looking at your screen with a PowerPoint behind you,
Exactly.
and that will not be a problem when you're actually giving it. That's my opinion. So I think that overall you did a really excellent job, and I think you'll bring your point across to your fellow students very well.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Now we'll move on to the reports. First of all, could I have a timers report from Mark?
Okay, I was busy tonight, so we'll start with Lawrence's speech. It was a 5 to 7 minute speech. He spoke for 6 minutes, 41 seconds. JR had a 2 to 3 minute speech. He spoke for 3 minutes and 2 seconds. Table topics. Lawrence spoke for 1 minute 49. Woody spoke for 2 minutes and 19 the first time, 1 minute and 2 seconds the second time. His evaluation was 2 to 3 minutes, and he spoke for 20 seconds. Maurice on table topics spoke for 1 minute 39 seconds and 1 minute 52 seconds. JR spoke for 1 minute 15 seconds and 1 minute 15 seconds. I spoke for, I wrote down 1 minute 8 seconds and 1 minute 40 seconds. And no egregious offenses. In fact, there were no offenses. Everybody spoke within their allotted time. That is my report.
All right, thank you, Mark. Now could I have the Humanities report from Maurice?
Yes. For the word of the day, from what I could remember hearing, it was Lawrence, myself, and Mark. So if anyone else used the word egregious, speak up. Okay, for Lawrence's speech, got 3 uhs, 1 and I have a question. Can the word "and" be a filler word? I know that's a judgment call, but
Yeah, it can.
okay, because I mean I know most of the time it was to join 2 points, but
Right.
I think a few of those times it was a filler word too.
Okay. Yeah, it could very well be.
Yeah. And
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
That was a good example.
Yeah. One from Woody on his evaluation. I don't remember him saying any other time. And then a couple uhs from JR during his second table topic. And myself, I had to focus on speaking, so don't know what I did wrong. Well, that's a right there. I don't remember any other filler words from anyone else besides those. And that's the grammarian's report.
All right, thank you, Maurice. Now move on to the general evaluation of the meeting. First of all, Tammy, those are great questions. I liked how a lot of them were practical, like having the job interview practice and the intro to your coworkers, especially since I think the open-ended questions are sometimes more difficult. So that was a very good pick. And also good call having 10 of them ready. That worked out really nicely. Lawrence, I love the whole angle of having the AA presentation. That was awesome. I think I just wasn't smart enough to pick up on it during the speech. So what I would do is try and hammer your audience over the head with the theme that you are an AA for people who can't stop talking. I think that would work out really well because that is a very clever angle to take for an icebreaker, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I did keep emphasizing it, but it didn't quite emphasize it the way.
Looking back now, there were so many tips there, but for some reason they totally escaped me. So that was mostly my fault, but still, you're going to have...
What I should have done is cued somebody to say, "Hi, Lawrence," you know, like they do in the everybody says, "Hi, Lawrence," in the AA meeting.
That would have been great.
Anyway, I've only seen it on TV, so that's all I can use as an example.
All right. And I'd say overall, we got a skeleton crew tonight, but I know I really enjoyed the meeting, and I think it's still a lot of fun, and you got some good practice in. So I will now turn control of the meeting back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, thank you. All right, this evening, that actually is pretty much the end of our program. The educational part of the meeting, excuse me for a moment, I forgot to bring my clock. Okay, we got 5 minutes, so I will give a quick, very quick overview of what I was going to talk about in the educational overview, and that is the elections, the upcoming elections. I really do want to emphasize that although being a president or vice president or any of the other positions in Toastmasters actually very minimal input from your parts. There's usually, if you take part in one of these, you're going to be doing some extra things during the meeting, or just before the meeting, or just after the meeting, and then you're really not doing a whole lot any other time of the week. So it's not a very intensive thing to do, but it does give you a good opportunity to get some experience in a leadership, being able to think on the level of leadership and what can you do to develop this and develop that. And there may be other things that you can get involved in, but for the most part, you can get by with very little extra effort other than what you're already putting into your Toastmasters meeting. So I highly recommend that anybody who has not yet had the opportunity to take up a position would please take it up. All right, Mark, can you give us a heads up on next week's adventure?
Yes, next week, so far we've only got one person, and that's Maurice, that said he's going to be there. I just signed him up to get a speech. While he was deciding whether or not he could get a speech, I signed him up. So I've also got Kendra to give a speech next week. She did agree that she'd be ready for that speech next week. Woody, I've got you down as reserve speaker. I've got Kedrick as a Toastmaster. I've not heard from him in a while, so we might need somebody to step in next week if he can't make it. This is the general evaluator. And today was Lawrence.
What was that?
You are the table topic master.
Okay. Good. All right, thank you very much. And I guess that is, anyone else have anything that they would like to bring forward for the good of the club? I want to thank you all for showing up this evening. I hope you will continue to show up. Oh, by the way, I am going to be gone on the 9th and the 16th of May. So I'll be out of the country. So I'm going to need somebody to take over as the MC of the whole program for those days. Start off the program, take my place as president for those 2 meetings. Okay, so just be aware of that. And anything else for the good of the meeting? Going once, going twice, so have a good week, folks.
All right, thank you.
Where are you going?
All right. Hey.
I'm going to France.
Oh, nice.
Before we leave, I've got a